Straight Line MTB is back, and I'm here to review the 2021 Nukeproof Mega 290 Carbon Elite. All right, Straight Liners, I am back, and finally, I am here to give you my final review of the all-new 2021 Nukeproof Mega 290 Carbon, and this is the Elite build. Before we get started, go check out our channel. I reviewed the 2020 version of the 290 Carbon, and that was one of my favorite bikes that we have reviewed and that I have owned. And we will talk about if this new 2021 model has eked it out and made it my new favorite. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe so we can bring you more awesome content on great bikes, as well as gear and other things that we may stumble upon. Also, we're getting into a little bit of the ride videos, so don't forget to check some of those out. All right, so this is the Elite build, and I have to say that Nukeproof really stepped up their game for 2021. They have pretty much changed a lot of things of the Mega for this 2021 model. One big thing that I really love and appreciate is that this bike is a full carbon frame now, where the 2020 version had the aluminum rear end, and that was a little bit of a gripe that I had, that it felt a little bit of that aluminum flex in the rear. With this new carbon version, that has gone, so we got all carbon. And the biggest shout out to Nukeproof is they heard and they have appeased all of us riders that you can fit a full-size water bottle inside the frame, where the 2020 version you had to have it on the outside of frame and worry about getting, you know, gout or giardia or whatever it is from all the poop or whatever you find on the trail. But so those concerns are gone. Now we can put our bottle inside the frame. Looking at this Elite build, I was thinking about what I'm gonna say about it, and the Elite build for the price is $4,500. I feel like you can't beat it. Nukeproof is always hitting it out of the park with their build for price. So you're getting a Performance Elite 36 fork up front. It's got the Grip 2 damper, so you got low and high speed compression and rebound. You are getting the Performance rear shock, so you're just getting low speed compression and low speed rebound. I never felt the need for any more dials on this shock. It really performs well. You're getting a full SLX drivetrain with 4-piston SLX brakes, straight workhorse of a group set. I've had XT, GX, X01, and SLX really isn't leaving much behind. The one thing I would appreciate is maybe an XT shifter where you get that double downshift, but otherwise you're getting that similar performance from XT. Or looking at the wheels, this bike comes with the E1900 from DT Swiss. The only gripe I have with these wheels is the rear hub. You're getting 24 points of engagement. Well, I'm not an engagement or hub snob, but 24 points is on the low side. I do anything of 36 or above I really like. I did feel that, you know, the 24 kind of is a laggy. Luckily, you can get the DT Swiss LN ratchet set to switch these out to the Star ratchet, and you can go all the way up to 54 tooth. That comes about $120, so it's a little bit of an upgrade, but something I definitely recommend. The dropper post, something I continue to just drool and gush over this dropper post. I think this dropper post is like 135 bucks. It's the Brand X Ascend. This is a 170. Works flawlessly. It comes with the Shimano MT500 dropper lever. That thing is buttery smooth. This dropper is flawless. I've had so many of them, and they've always worked really well for me, and I really love them. I would have liked to have seen something in the 200 millimeter range. It looks like I have, you know, I don't have a super long inseam. I have like a 31.5 inseam right in my size large. It looks like I can run a longer dropper. There are times that I felt like I wanted a longer dropper. You may not have that problem, but check it out and see what you think. And then on to the finishing kit of this bike. Nukeproof components. Usually house brand components on bikes kind of leave you wanting a little bit more. I say Nukeproof is killing it with their Nukeproof branded components. The Horizon stem is beautiful. It's CNC machined. It rivals the big dogs out there. It's just beautiful. And then the Horizon bars, they're 800 millimeter. It's a 31.8 clamp diameter, so you do have a little bit of that compliance. Those bars are amazing for aluminum bars. I really love them. The grips were a little bit thin. Switch them out to Deity Super Cush, but otherwise this bike really is built super well. So speaking of the frame quality of this bike, I would say that Nukeproof again has stepped up their game. If you watch the video of the 2020 review, I cracked that frame, but Nukeproof and Chain Reaction were super quick, great customer service, took care of me, took care of the issue, and got us set up. So I had no problem getting another Mega. But looking at this frame, it's really well built. The tubes are really burly. It almost looks like it's overbuilt. Our build, just as you see it with pedals, I got 2 inserts in the tires, came at over 35 pounds, so it's not a super light bike. But another shout out to Nukeproof is they install frame protection tape on a lot of areas on this bike, so you don't have to worry about doing it yourself. The only area that I added was on behind the seat too, because you want to keep your back end nice and clear when those rocks are slapping back there. So for 2021, Nukeproof has updated the kinematics of the suspension on this bike. So it says that it's more supple off the top stroke and more progressive at the end stroke. So you're getting that nice suppleness in the beginning, and then at the end of the stroke, you're also getting that support that you need for those big hits. They're also saying that you can run wide ranges of sag for this bike. So you can run over 30%, under 30%, or right at 30%, and really fine tune that to your trails and what kind of terrain you're riding. So out on the trail, I have ridden this bike in so many different areas. I took it to North Star Bike Park, and that is, if you've been there or you've seen some of our videos, it's got a lot of nasty chunk. It's got jump lines, a lot of fun stuff. I also took it to Downeyville, again, some chunk, but also some climbing and some really fast sections. And then, of course, our local trail system that just has a little bit of everything from cross country to black and black, double black diamond chunk. So on the climbing sections of this bike, so being a 160, 170 millimeter bike, you're not going to expect it to climb something like a Transition Spur or YT Izzo. It's just not that bike. But I will say for the size, this bike is smooth and steady. I had no issue climbing up. When you need that traction, that rear end just really bites down and grips in. Some of our climbs have some gnarly, chunky, steep stuff. I never had any issue where I was spinning out or having a problem getting that just traction that you need. It really feels like that back end bites in really hard and gets you up all those technical climbs. It is a longer bike, so you're not going to have the ability to kind of move around. It's not a light bike, so you're not going to be trying to do trial stuff as easily as you would on a lighter bike, which I don't do. I just sit and spin. But this bike is happy to get up the hill. I would say that the 2020 version of this bike, I felt like maybe a little bit quicker climber. On this bike, on the climbs, while the pedal bob was very minimal and I rarely locked the rear end out, it almost feels like you have a little bit more plushness when you're climbing. It doesn't negate its efficiency. It just, you just kind of know that you're on a bigger bike. So some enduro bikes on the downhill could sometimes feel a little bit unwieldy or a little bit more work on some of the smoother or mellow trails. I will say Nukeproof did a great job with their geometry and just the balance, because it's not a super long or super slack bike. So it does have a 64-degree head tube angle, and the wheelbase is just a little bit shorter than last year's, and that could be due to the chainstays are 10 millimeters shorter at 440 as opposed to last year's 450. On my bigger bikes, I do appreciate longer chainstay lengths, but this bike really struck a balance. So even on the smoother kind of fast trails where a trail bike might be a little bit faster, this bike wasn't a boring bike. It was able to cut and carve pretty well for a 160, 170 millimeter enduro bike. And then jumping, even though it's 35 pounds, this bike jumped really well. And then again, that rear end, that progression really allows you to just take those big jumps and hucks to flat. There's a few jumps and drops on our trails that are to flat, and this bike takes them in stride. But where this bike really shines, or where things get a little hairy and out of hand, really steep, loose sections, and just that fast chunk, this bike really comes alive. It really made me want to push myself to go faster. That rear end, like it's supple off the top, but if you're hitting those big drops, it does have that progression to keep you from bottoming out harshly. I will say that I've taken this to the North Star Bike Park, and that place is super, got a lot of natural features. It can be super gnarly and rocky and fast. Downeyville again is another area that I've ridden this bike a couple times, and it is really chunky and nasty there. As well as we just most recently went to Reno, Nevada and rode some just pretty sketchy, gnarly downhill tracks with chunk. And this bike has that ability to really save you. It can almost be like, you know, a bit of a poppier enduro bike, but as well as have that suspension, that suppleness in it to really save you when those drops, you know, when you're hitting those fast off camber turns. This bike really comes alive, and it gives you the confidence to push a little bit farther and a little bit harder with its more, I'd say, more on the plush side of the suspension. And I absolutely love this bike so much. It's easy to say that any bike climbs really well and descends well, because generally all bikes right now do. We're in a great time where bikes are just super amazing. But how does this new Mega stack up to the competition? So just quick comparison to the 2020 version, I will say that this bike maybe doesn't climb quite as quickly or as maybe light as that bike did. This bike definitely has the chops to go a little bit faster and feel a little bit more supple on the downs, and give you a little bit more pop than the previous version. Another comparison to this bike that I get asked about is the Transition Sentinel V2. Though while the Sentinel has a 10 millimeters less travel front and rear, it's not a far comparison, because I think the Sentinel is in that enduro category, where I would say it was more of a light enduro bike. The Sentinel's gonna climb better. A little bit more than slightly better. It's going to be lighter. It's going to be a little bit more poppy, even though the head tube angle on the Sentinel is a little bit more slack. But I will say that the Nukeproof Mega 290, this new one, is going to descend quite a bit better than that. You're going to be able to hit a little bit bigger lines and notice a little bit more comfort. So that would be the difference, where I'd say the Transition Sentinel V2 is more of a heavy duty all mountain bike, where the Mega is a true enduro bike. Another popular comparison would be to the 2021 Common Sale Meta AM29, which we had. I will say that those, while both enduro bikes, they do have different characters. The Meta AM is going to be a longer, slacker bike that really wants to go a lot faster to really open up its potential and feel confident, which is really easy on that bike, because you start going and you just feel like you can plow real hard. I will say the rear suspension on that bike is a little bit more on the sporty side compared to the Mega, where the Mega feels a little bit more plush. I really feel like maybe the Meta AM is just a bike that really needs bigger trails and bigger lines to really get it to feel its full potential. Well, where the Mega, you can ride it on a little bit more mellow trails and still have a great time. All right, straight liners, thank you for joining us. Again, we appreciate all the support, and we look forward to bringing you guys more reviews. Don't forget to give us a like and subscribe so we can bring you more reviews and show you more awesome gear. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at straightline_MTB, where we're doing all kinds of silly stuff, and you can get a day-to-day dose of Straightline MTB and see maybe some secret stuff we're bringing again. Again, thank you guys, and we appreciate your time, and we'll see you on the next video.